China and America. USA. Ready? Enter something kind of fun here. All right. So prior to 1979, the People's Republic of China had no established diplomatic relationships with the United States. Like, we're not talking to you. You're not talking to us. We're not trade. We're not doing that. 1979, prior to 79, right? 78, December 15th, Carter goes over there and says, hey, let's see if we all get along. All right. So that's starting at 78. January 1st, 1979, things get rolling. And then they grant waivers. This is the craziest thing. They know. The United States knows that China enslaves people. They know they kill people. They know they, soil the environment, all this stuff. But they say, look the other way. So they decide to grant waivers to allow some trade to begin. So now we're going to get some trade. Oh, good. We're going to dig in. So 84, Reagan goes to China, and they decide that, you know what? We've got some military equipment we'd like to sell you. If you're okay with that, you want to buy it? China's like, yeah, we'll buy your military equipment. Everything's going really well. From 84, things are starting to move along, starting to sell them stuff. China's buying stuff. That's great. And then, unfortunately, there is the spring uprising of the students in 1989. And then in June, this happens.
No one knows how many people have died in the crackdown. We may never know. At least 300 have died. The figure may be as high as 3,000 or more. Many were civilians who went into the street unarmed to challenge the military and were mowed down by machine gun fire or run over by tanks.
No.
It was noontime today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace, which, as it happened, was already occupied. He walked to the middle and stood there. The man was alone. The tank was not. It wasn't just a single tank he stopped. There were 18 tanks and armored carriers in this convoy, and while he talked to the crew and ignored the gunfire, he stopped all of them.
Okay, so there you go. So that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? So at this point, the United States is like, oh, that's really bad. I mean, you're mowing down your own people. By the way, you're using some of our military assets to do that we sold you. Who knows? But you're shooting your own people. Everybody's seen it. It's really bad. We're going to have to stop trade. So we stopped trade for a little while, and then we realized, that's probably not such a good idea because we have our people in the United States that are having things built there and then shipped back here, and we can't have that. So George Bush Sr., 1990.
I did not want to hurt the Chinese people, and this was a difficult decision, weighing our impulse to lash out in outrage that we all feel against a sober assessment, weighing that against a sober assessment of our nation's long-term interests. I concluded that it is in our best interest and the interest of the Chinese people to continue China's trade status.
Right. We need them to keep building crappy stuff so we can keep buying it.
Not to do so would hurt the United States. Trade would drop, dramatically hurting exporters, consumers, and investors.
Right. So what he's basically saying is, look, we know that you gun down your own people, but let's be honest, we want to keep buying cheap crap from you that used to be made in the United States, and now it's made over there. So we're going to look the other way. Just try not to make it so public when you're torturing and killing people. So that's what happens with George Bush in 1990. It keeps rolling along. And then Clinton gets elected. And a lot of people on the left are like, hey, stop negotiating with China. Stop it. They're really horrible. They're destroying the environment. They're really starting to screw up the economy. We're losing jobs in the United States. And then the president and CEO of Mattel gives this little speech to Clinton.
Yes, I will be very brief. I understand about time crunches. Christmas and Hanukkah are upon us, and being in the toy industry, I only have a few days left.
She's an elf, by the way.
We've talked about NAFTA and we've talked about GATT. What we haven't talked about is MFN, most favored nation status for China. And this remains the single most important trade issue affecting many industries and my industry, the American toy industry. Duties on toy products would increase from 12% to 70% if MFN status is not renewed. Obviously, consumers would be very, very affected by that increase. And we want toys to be accessible to all families and all children in the United States. And it's reflective of something that went on in 1960 when foreign competitors went to lower cost sources while U.S. toy companies were sourcing here in the U.S. Our market share was eroded dramatically, and it wasn't until we went to lower cost sources.
We went to lower cost sources. So we started allowing China to build the stuff so that all kids in America could have toys, but their parents can't have jobs. I mean, right? You see sort of the twist on this thing? It's sort of a weird twisteroo. Like, we got to continue to have China build cheap stuff for us. And I think probably the denouement has to be the fact that Bernie Sanders, where's Bernie's thing? Here's the weirdest thing. Bernie Sanders, since like the 1980s, has been like, hey, American jobs, we've got to keep them here. Keep American jobs here. He's been fighting. We don't want to trade with China. China's a horrible country. They torture their people. Then Bernie goes into a Target store the other day and says this.
The White House talked about iPhones being made here in America. Some economists have said that it would cost thousands of extra dollars to buy an iPhone. Is that realistic?
I think I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is the immediate harm is going to be very significant. And it is going to, I was just in Target the other day buying something, and I looked around there. Virtually all of those products sold in stores like Target are going to see significant increases in prices if Trump gets his way with tariffs.
Okay, so what he's saying is, if we don't tariff China, then the cheap stuff comes into the United States, and then the American people can't buy the cheap stuff. But that means we're okay with China. I mean, how does Bernie's head not explode? We're okay with China, polluting and killing and enslaving. That's okay as long as everybody is able to buy, a crappy T-shirt, a sweatshirt, or a pair of flip-flops or something.
A Barbie doll.
Or a Barbie doll. I hope it's such an upside down world when it comes to this stuff, Jason. I hope you get just generally the idea. American corporations love the fact that they can have something built cheaply over there and ship it over here so we can afford it. But at the same time, sort of we're drinking our own poison, right? And the tariffs that are in place, what they're trying to do is get China to, I guess at some point, to be some balance between the two. But
there's also the IP issues in China.
Oh yeah, they steal everything.
There's a great cut we never got around to playing last week of Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary talking about how his products get stolen. In
yeah,
China
they steal. We did play that, and then they steal it, and then they sell it back to us. Plus, oh, can you make sure that you're not polluting? Oh yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Oh, can you make sure you're not enslaving anybody? Oh yeah, don't worry about that. Here's an iPhone. Well, what a mess.